I want to ask you about another question of trust, and that is when it comes to the upcoming election. Can I get a show of hands from everyone who will be voting in person? So Lori, am I right? You're the only one voting by mail, or how are you? What is your plan? Do you have one?
I'm voting early in person.
Okay.
So I guess that's a little bit of both. We tried to vote in the Tennessee state primary by mail, and that experience was troubling. So we decided that we would put our masks on and go in person.
What do you mean troubling? What happened?
We, I hate to criticize our local election office, but we did not know that our ballot had been received and processed until after the election was over. The tracking system website that they had was several days behind, and we sent our stuff in a little bit late, but it took a day to get to us and several days to get back to the election commission. And after that, we thought, you know what, I think we would just feel safer if we could go. Tennessee allows early voting for any reason, which is really nice. And so we can go at a time when it's not busy to a location that is not busy, and we would just feel better if we voted that way.
So all of you are going to vote in person, either early or on election day. Are all of you confident that your votes will be counted? I think all of you are shaking your heads yes, or giving me a thumbs up there. Do you, well, it makes me wonder, do you all trust that mail-in voting will work? Jill, you're not sure.
I have a brother that works for the post office, and he's going to probably kill me, but no, if I am not one of those people that can vote by mail. And to me, during a pandemic, that would be the time to do it. I do understand people not wanting to do that, or maybe being a little concerned. But, you know, our governor just did something really weird with drop off ballots and only having one box, and, you know, and Houston's humongous. So that to me just would be really unattractive, you know, at this time. I'd rather just go vote in, you know, person, or do it early and call it a day, because it just seems like, you know, what he did at first, the answer was, oh, we'll have boxes everywhere. And now it's like, that's changed, and that's concerning to me. So just for me being here in Texas, that no, I wouldn't do it. No.
Mm-hmm. JR.
I live in Georgia. I know during the governor's race, Stacey Abrams and everyone was trying to get us out to go vote, and then lo and behold, the candidate who was now our governor was running the election. So I think that by Trump's putting out there saying that he's not trusting the ballots, and then we had the postal thing happen over the summer where they were removing machines and sorting machines and all that, we're basically making the election come into fruition the way he said it was. It's going to be. It's like basically he was telling us his plan all along. That's how I took it. And so I feel like a lot of people who are my friends, because I was going to be the one to mail mine in. I did it during the primaries. But they said, no. All those votes are going to be in litigation. We're not going to know who the president is election night. You might as well just go ahead and vote.
Question to all of you, raise your hand. If your candidate loses, will you trust the outcome of the election? Lorraine, if President Trump loses, you won't believe the outcome of the election?
I think part of my problem is the mail. I am petrified of the mail. My mail in my little town is having problems delivering mail, it seems, lately. And if I'm in a little town, what about the rest of the country getting these mail-in ballots counted? I mean, it's not that I'm not going to trust it. I don't think we're going to learn that night. And I think that people, I think that nobody is going to believe who wins. I think that if the Democrats win, the Republicans are going to doubt it. If the Republicans win, the Democrats. That's just my personal opinion. Nobody's going to trust.
But for you, you don't think it's possible that President Trump could lose this election? You are that certain?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm
Okay.
saying that we've still got a countdown. We've got a couple more debates. We don't know his health right now, where we're going to be a month from now. I mean, so many people have gotten COVID. Is he going to be one of the ones that recovers easy? Is he going to be one of the ones that has symptoms for months to come? So I'm not saying that he's definitely going to win. I'm saying that we're just in a place right now that I don't think we know right now.
And given all the uncertainties that many of you seem to have, are you worried about what happens after the election? And if so, what are you worried about? Lori?
I think it might have been JR who said it. Somebody said we are unlikely to know the outcome on election night. I think that's true. I still have faith in the electoral system, and my concerns about voting through the mail have nothing to do with fears about voter fraud. But I do think that there is some chance that that President Trump may feel as though the election was unfair and challenge those results if he is not the one that that the votes say has come out on top.
Tom, do you believe the president will accept the outcome of the election if he loses?
I believe he will. And I'm curious. It seems as though this is a right and left issue, unfortunately. And I don't know why the left isn't as concerned with mail-in voters as the right is. It just seems like we should all be concerned about mail votes. They don't arrive timely, they get lost, your vote. In my instance, my son voted or applied for a absentee ballot, and it never showed up till after the election. I mean, how is he couldn't even vote? So,
And that's out in Ohio.
yeah, and that's in Ohio, and that was 2 cycles ago, but it was indicative, and it made me think twice about trying to do an absentee ballot. I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. I'll never get to vote. I'll just go in person and vote. So, yeah, I think we should all be concerned about mail-in ballots. It seems like such an unpredictable way to get your vote counted, and everybody wants to count, just like I think Lorraine said, is everybody wants to be heard, or was it Jill? Everybody just wants to be heard, and so your vote is how government and everyone can hear you, and so we want to make sure the integrity of our election stays intact. I mean, that's the key.
Juan, do you believe that the president will honor the outcome of the election if he loses?
I think he will. I mean, I also believe at the same time that that's why he's trying to get this seat filled with the Supreme Court, because I think with all the uncertainty with these mail-in ballots, and it's not the mail-in ballots, it's the unsolicited ballots that these people are just mailing, mass mailing. And you hear people coming out saying, I received 5 different ballots, people that don't even live at this home and haven't lived here for years, and they're mailing out ballots to them. That's what's scary. That's what scares people like me. How is this going to work if they're mailing ballots to whomever throughout big cities, because that's where they're mainly doing them, because that's where you have your higher numbers of Democratic votes. And
you know that those ballots have to then be cross-referenced with voter registration.
But they're already saying, well, we're not even going to look at signatures. The states are trying to change the rules of how to process these ballots, because there are states that you can't even open these ballots until election night.
Right.
So they're like, how are we going to get everything done? Well, let's not even look at the signatures. Well, let's not throw away this kind of ballot or that kind of ballot. If we hold true to the way things have been done in the past, because I think Florida's been voting by mail for many years, they have a system in place. It's the states that just said, hey, let's try this. Maybe this will be interesting, and maybe we can get more stuff go our way. It's going to end up just like Gore and Bush. It's going to end up in the court. And that's why you have to fill that seat, because a 4-4 court isn't going to work. You got to have that last person to take it either way. And I know people say, well, you just want to have that conservative vote. Well, John Roberts was supposed to be our conservative guy, and he hasn't really voted with us. So you want justices who will follow what the Constitution says. They're not going to interpret it. They're going to interpret the Constitution as written, not to what their activist beliefs tell them to do. So is it going to end up in the courts? Yes. Whatever they decide, Trump's going to accept it, because that's what you do. Gore accepted it, and Trump will too.
Only if it goes to the Supreme Court in that scenario. JR and Jill, last words to you. What are you concerned about, if you have concerns regarding the outcome of the election? Do you trust the outcome and that both sides will accept the outcome if they lose?
Ladies first, Jill.
No, I don't think the president will accept the outcome, because he's already kind of, alluding to that, saying that, it's not going to be a fair election, and he's already talking about mail-in ballots, and he's, trying to make it as negative as possible. I think that he's just a person that if he wins, it's great. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't win, it's going to be a problem. So I don't think he would accept it. And, I just don't.
JR?
We got into this because a person became president and they asked for his birth certificate, and the president gave his birth certificate, did a mic drop, and the very person who did that hateful thing about their birth couldn't take a joke. And so therefore he ran. I don't think President Trump has any kind of semblance of having a peaceful transition. He wants to win. Winning is it. That's it. You either win or you lose. And he doesn't lose. He said it. Maya Angelou said this: when a person tells you who they are, believe it. I believe everything that he said he's going to do. He is not going to have a peaceful transition because he is not going to lose. And that's it. That's the reason why I'm not voting for him.
Thank you all for sharing your thoughts and your insights and your Friday night with us.